Focus Daily, y'all. Let's get into it. Today, we're going to speak about the American Eugenics Society. But first, as usual, I got to give all praise due to the Lord God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is through him that I am being sent with this truth as a chance for salvation for all. So, first they located us. Then they began to systematically disenfranchise us. Finally, they began to eugenically euthanize us. Ultimately, it was a Holocaust, a genocide of the Afro-Americans in particular, the indigenous people of this land, the birthright owners of this land, the children of God. So, once again, in the early 1900s, Walter Plecker entered the scene, and he began to influence political agenda across the whole nation from his base in Virginia. One of the many influences that he inflicted upon the Afro-Americans was birth control, eugenics, abortion, Nazi Third Reich type tactics to eliminate and perpetrate a Holocaust on the children of God, the Afro-Americans. All right, let's read a little bit into eugenics in the medical field. Good day, everybody. Let's begin. Look a little bit of statistics. The number one killer in Black communities is not HIV, with its 3,591 deaths, drug-influenced deaths, homicides, diabetes, with its 13,435 deaths, accidental deaths, cancer, heart disease, or any other of the 246,122 deaths from the top leading causes within the Afro-American community. The number one leading cause of death is the 259,000 deaths via abortion in 1 year. Data statistics source, this was from 2014 from the CDC. So the CDC reports that in the year 2013-14, more than 260,000 abortions were performed exclusively in the Black Afro-American community. I went to the CDC and I looked up those stats, stackscdc.gov, and this is a table that presented all the abortions that were reported within that same statistical year. We zoom down to 214, it reports that 652,000 abortions in total were reported to the CDC. Of those, 260,000 of them were Black, were Afro-American. Those are astounding statistics. More proof than anything that it has been a Holocaust, a genocide inflicted upon us, the children of God. Now, with this statistics, to be fair, it's not reporting all 50 states, only the states that agreed to participate. The ones that didn't agree were California. California has one of the largest populations within America. So likely their statistics match those same numbers. So it's not even reporting one of the highest populated cities. The District of Columbia didn't report. Maryland and New Hampshire. But all other 57, 52, whatever states, they reported. Those statistics are a shame. But let's get to reading. From nature.com, Skytable Forums, Genetic Generation. Let's see, curated by Laura Rivard from the University of San Diego. The Genetics Generation Forum is a discussion space about ethnics in genetics, exploring provocation issues raised by the growing scientific knowledge. Together with her students, Dr. Rivard will engage readers each week, in the case study. Let's see what, it's a good year, 2014. Let's see what Dr. Rivard has to say. Americans' Hidden History, the Eugenic Movement, by Taryn and Laura. The USA has an imperfect history. USA has an imperfect history. Some of our darker chapters include slavery, dissemination of Native American, Afro-American populations. You see how they coincided with each other more and more. You have to turn your discernment on and speaking directly about the genocide, about the Holocaust and atrocities. Let me start over. The United States has an imperfect history. Some of our darker chapters include slavery, the dissemination of Native American populations, and atrocities committed during our various fake wars. Wars were assaults on the Afro-American community that was reported to us as war. We were the British that they attacked. We were the ones that they revolted against in the American Revolution. A quick survey will reveal that most Americans have learned about or at least heard of these events. However, ask the average person about the eugenics movement and you are likely to get a blank stare. We at Eugenics Generation believe it's time to raise awareness of this tragic time in our country history. Eugenics, here we go, comes from the Greek, demonic roots for good and origin, or good birth, and involves applying principles of genetics and heredity for the purpose of improving the human race. Shame. Evil. Pure evil. The term eugenics was coined by Francis Galton in the late 1800s. Galton was an English intellectual whose body of work spanned many fields including statistics, psychology, meteorology, and genetics. Incidentally, he was also half-cousin of Charles Darwin. So here we go again, moving it into what we spoke of yesterday. Military involvement through the Anglo-Saxon Clubs of America. The club not mentioned, but if you notice, the same guy who they're speaking of, who created the term eugenics, was related to Charles Darwin, the same guy who speaks of evolution. Intermingling the two sciences, they convinced the world that the Afro-American bloodline, God's children bloodline, was useless. Galton's first academic foray into eugenics analyzed the characteristics, such as superior intelligence of England's upper class and concluded that they were hereditary. Therefore, desirable traits could be passed down through generations. Galton advocated a selective breeding program for humans in his book, Heredity Genius. Consequently, as it is easy to obtain by careful selection a permanent breed of dogs, horses, gifted with peculiar powers of running. Look at this. Okay. 10 stages of genocide. Stage 4. Dehumanization. Dehumanization. People equated with animals or vermin. So as you can see, even this report itself includes step 4, at least, of that genocide chart. It was a Holocaust. It was a genocide. Still is going on right now. But we're here to wake you up. Consequently, as easy as it is to obtain by careful selection of a permanent breed of dogs or horses gifted with peculiar powers of running or of doing anything else, so it will be quite predictable to produce a highly grafted race of men by judicious marriage during several consecutive generations. Eugenics movement took root in the United States in the early 1900s, led by Charles Davenport, a prominent biologist, and Harry Laughlin, a former teacher and principal interested in breeding. Pretty sure this is the people who create textbooks, but that's not here what we're here to speak about right now. In 1910, Davenport founded the Eugenics Record Office at Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories on Long Island to improve the natural, physical, mental, and temperamental qualities of the human family. 1910, the Walter Plecker generation. Here he goes, in full effect. All right, now we're going to talk about how this website is also obviously involved in spreading the information to let others know of their history of extermination of the Afro-Americans. Field workers for the ERO collected many different forms of data, including family pedigrees, depicting the inheritance of physical, mental, and moral traits. They were particularly interested in the inheritance of undesirable traits, such as pauperism, mental disabilities, dwarfism, promiscuity. What that got to do with genetics? Being a freak is not genetic. That's just what people do. And criminology. These words, boy. Criminality. The ERO remained active for 3 decades. Eugenics was not only the purview of academics, and it became a popular social movement that peaked, here we go, in the 1920s and 1930s, which very strangely aligns with the same timeline of the Nazi Third Reich. Like reported yesterday, the Third Reich came to America to get their game. And here it is being laid out. During this period, the American Eugenics Society was founded. In addition to fairs and expeditions, world fairs, where they had human zoos, and they took them all around the country and all around the world as a propaganda movement to present the black man as an animal. Stage 4 of genocide. Movies and books promoting genetic principle were popular. A film called, here go that film again, The Black Stork, based on a true story. We might have to check that out. Depicted as heroic, a doctor that allowed a syphilitic infant to die after convincing the child parents that it would be better to spare society one more outcast. A little bit more, hang in there, y'all. The English eugenics movement, championed by Galton, promoted eugenics through selective breeding for positive traits. In contrast, the eugenics movement in the U.S. quickly focused on eliminated negative traits. And by negative, they mean Negro. Notice how they both start with nig. And surprisingly, undesirable traits were concentrated in poor, uneducated, and minority populations. More code words. Who fits all three of those? I know it's not comfortable to be equated as uneducated, but we shall move on. In an attempt to prevent these groups from propagating, eugenicists helped drive legislature that forced sterilization. The first state to enact sterilization law, past Virginia, was Indiana in 1907, quickly followed by California, who don't even report their abortion statistics, and 28 other states in 1931. These laws resulted in the forced sterilization of over 64,000 people in the United States. At first, sterilization efforts focused on the disabled, but later grew to include people whose only crime was poverty. But how did they become poor and uneducated? That's what we're pointing out. How did they become the minority? It's a genocide, folks. These sterilization programs found legal support in the Supreme Court. In Buck versus Bell, 1927, here you go. The state of Virginia, Walter Plecker, sought to sterilize Carrie Buck from promiscuity, as evident by her giving birth to a baby out of wedlock. Some suggest she was raped. In ruling against Buck, Supreme Court Justice Wendell Holmes opined, it's better for all the world if instead of waiting to execute degenerate offspring for crime or to let them starve imbecilely, society can prevent those who were manifesting unfit from continuing their kind. 3 generations of imbeciles is enough. Black, 2003. It's funny how God works. The truth has always been right before our eyes. But we too busy, caught up in celebrity, gossip, and headlines. Tiffany, Will, Chris. That's what they keep our minds on. That's how they ideologically subvert us. But let's keep going. This decision legitimized the various sterilization laws in the United States. So while they was passing these, what was black people doing in the Roaring 20s? Speakeasies, getting drunk. In particular, California programs were so robust that the Nazis turned, here we go. Use my reading, but y'all see this. The Nazis turned to California for advice in protecting their own efforts. So to me, it seemed like United States was the Nazi headquarters. Walter Plecker was a key Nazi member, besides just being the devil himself. Let us move on. Hitler proudly admitted to following the laws of several American states that allowed for the prevention of reproduction of the unfit. Eugenics, y'all. From America to Germany, from Ku Klux Klan to the Third Reich, was severely perpetrated against. It's not funny, but, tripping on my words. Were committed against the children of God. The truth is here, folks. Time to wake up. But until next time, Focus Daily, y'all. We out.